Lots of clouds in the sky today. Can't really see much. And what's going on today? This is kind of interesting to read. You've read a lot of stories where people claim there was drones flying in certain airspaces stopping manned aircraft. How about drones stopping other drones from doing, I guess, things like drone light shows and stuff like that? This one says, Drift's Alpha Harmony installation cancelled due to aggressive disruption by unknown drones. They make it sound like it was a terrorist attack or something like that. It says, Drift's planned 4-day drone performance at Herzog de Meuron's Alpha Harmony concert hall in Hamburg was cut short after attacks by unidentified drones. Titled Breaking Waves, the 7-minute piece was designed to mark the 5th anniversary of the building's opening and was due to be performed every night from Thursday to Sunday last week. However, the performance on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were cancelled after the rehearsal and premiere were disturbed by what Drift called aggressive disruption by anonymous drone operators that knocked some of the performance drones out of the sky. Okay, that's a different story if you're saying they're literally being like crashed into and so forth. It says there have been several collisions and as a result, numerous drones have crashed. And they wrote themselves, according to information from the aviation security authorities, there have never been disruptions to air traffic of this intensity and aggressiveness in Germany. This requires a reassessment of the security situation. Since it cannot be ruled out that such crimes will be committed again by the anonymous drone pilots in the following days, it is irresponsible to continue breaking waves in order to protect viewers and employees, the studio said. Those responsible for the Alpha Harmony and the artists from Drift are sad and frustrated that they have to cancel the repetitions of the light installation, which thrilled thousands of viewers at the premiere. That's kind of crazy. Someone actually flying their drones there and crashing into the other ones. It makes me wonder, shouldn't there be a lot of evidence too in terms of trying to track back whoever's operating the drone, the type and all that? Or would you say potentially it's something else like in many cases? Because I would say in this story in particular, if they're saying it's crashing into them, there should be evidence all over, correct? So it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds, I guess. And then for some reason today, there seemed to be a lot of news related to, I guess, potential censorship and stuff with social media platforms. Let's start with this one first, where apparently here in Canada, they want to introduce something again, I guess, to moderate things like content and all that from various platforms. This one says, YouTube says bill could cover user-generated content despite minister's assurances. YouTube says user-generated content such as cooking videos made in people's kitchens could be regulated by an online streaming law, despite assurances from the Heritage Minister that this will not happen. Speaking publicly for the first time about Bill C-11, Janet Patel, head of the government affairs for YouTube Canada, says the draft law's wording gives the broadcast regulator scope to oversee home videos. She told the National Culture Summit in Ottawa that the bill's text contradicts Minister Pablo Rodriguez's public assurances that it does not cover user-generated content such as cat videos. YouTube says it accepts that full-length professional music videos should fall within the bill's scope, but it wants the legal text of the bill to accurately reflect the minister's insistence that amateur videos will be exempt. A spokesman for the minister says the government has been very clear that user-generated content does not come within the scope of the bill and the text reflects that. That's one of those debates. Is that what's going to happen, or is it going to be like an overreach of sort? Because it's kind of interesting, like there, they say they agree things, for example, like a music video should be regulated. So it makes you wonder, like for me, creating a video for fun with a drone video with music, does that count as, I guess, like some kind of work that should be regulated, for example? It gets into a tricky topic. It says the bill would make online streaming platforms such as Netflix, Spotify, and YouTube promote a certain amount of Canadian content and give the broadcast regulator wider powers over digital platforms. It sounds fine and dandy, I would say from the outside, hey, promote more, I guess, Canadian content because you are like in Canada and all that, for example, but how do you determine who to promote? It'd be kind of like, for example, arguments of mainstream media and stuff like that I've read, where a lot of those independent outlets, they seem to get pushed under the rug a lot of times. So I can imagine they would be saying, oh, push more of this mainstream media and so forth, and not that person. Like, how do you determine where, I guess, the attention and resources should go towards? And still, I guess, with the topic of things like social media platforms, kind of interesting as you've all read the news of Elon Musk buying Twitter. And it seems like now so many places are trying to advocate that the place should be, I don't know, regulated and all that. And it's kind of interesting Because here you can see in his post, at first CNN made some kind of article like saying brands should force Twitter to uphold content policies, I guess, under Musk. And then his response to, I guess, people like CNN, he says, who funds these organizations that want to control your access to information? Let's investigate. I guess that would be kind of the debate there. Let's just say we had this rule here in Canada saying all streaming platforms are regulated. You have to push certain people. Like there, how do you determine, I guess, who should be the quote authority in that sense? And then he goes on in his opinion on how the platform should turn out in the future. It says here, Twitter will always be free for casual users, but maybe a slight cost for commercial government users. So that's kind of interesting to think about. Would that actually work in that sense? Basically charging, I guess, businesses like they say. And I'm not really sure what this means overall. It says, ultimately the downfall of the Freemasons was giving away their stone cutting services for nothing. So lots of, I guess, topics and debates just in terms of the direction of things like social media platforms and whether or not they should be regulated. I think overall, the trickiest situation so far is how a lot of platforms are acting as if they are some kind of publisher, censoring people and so forth, whereas I would say for the majority of the cases, it should just be some kind of utility as an example, unless someone's explicitly doing something blatantly illegal and all that. One thing I do wonder during these times, why does it seem like people such as government officials are so insistent and desperate in trying to control things like information? Why? I mean, it just seems like there's going to be more trouble, in my opinion, with the way it's being handled. I can just imagine bad things like, for example, what's happening in Shanghai in terms of information, where people want to share what's going on, but immediately you'll be banned or censored and so forth. I mean, actually one crazy news I read about that just recently about Shanghai was apparently people were being taken away in body bags and all that, like assuming, hey, they're dead, but they ended up being alive and all that. So can you imagine if that wasn't caught just by like a regular person and you were a platform saying, oh, I determined this source is the official one with the authority, and you would basically, I don't know, push down the person actually just releasing that raw video and all that. That would be actually the really bad example of, I guess, suppressing things like free-flowing information. And can you imagine that too, where you are the person, let's just say, that recorded that video of that person being taken away in the body bag and all that. You publish it online, and then for whatever reason there's a regulation, they'll determine, hey, you're not the quote authoritative source, so we'll downrank it and all that. Now, if somebody else picks it up, let's just say like in this example they use, I don't know, like a CNN or something, then all of a sudden it's credible. That doesn't make sense, does it? Alright, see you guys later.